So finally, Francisco, I could block some of your time to engage with you in this conversation. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. It's such a pleasure.
Same here, Gaurav. Thank you so much for having me here.
And Francisco, I've heard so much about you and the kind of research that I could do for you. It's like phenomenal. I mean, the kind of work that you're doing, I'm already falling in love with what you do, the way you do it, the kind of movement that you're starting worldwide. It's quite fascinating.
Thank you so much.
Hmm. So before I jump onto the exponential technologies and the innovation methodologies that you are evangelizing worldwide, let me just ask you a very simple question. Tell me about an incident from your childhood days that brings a smile on your face today as well.
That's a very nice question. Well, I guess so many, right? Because I tend to remember the nice things more than the the things that I didn't enjoy that much. But in general, I had a very good childhood. Well, I always remember, some day when I was around 8 years old,
Hmm.
something like that. I used to like going fishing with my grandfather. And there was in this small town where we were spending our summers on the beach, there was like a competition for children to fish, right? And the competition started at 5 a.m. in the morning. I think that I never have had like woke up so early, right? So I was nervous the whole night because I couldn't sleep thinking the competition with my granddad and so on. So I woke up, I was super excited, and I spent the whole, well, not the night, but from 5 a.m. until maybe 9 a.m. or something like that when the competition finishes there, right?
Hmm.
But I was, I always remember how my granddad was like encouraging me, like to keep trying and to not going down and to be persistent, and because this is about persistency, right? um at some point, like there was like a shot or in the air or something like that saying, this is over, right? So I don't have a good vocabulary, by the way, to about fishing, but basically I take back, my I don't know how to say it, right, but the tool that you use to fish in the
Hmm.
sea. And I was, taking it back and making an effort. And for some reason, when I took it back from the deep sea, I had a fish. I had a fish. It was the last chance.
Finally.
Finally, yes. And I was like crying, and still when I remember that, I feel very emotional, right? Because well, it was about my granddad, who was one of my biggest people in my life. And it's kind of sad because he's not here anymore, but at the same time is something beautiful because I remember the value of being persistent, and and keep trying until you do, right? So again, it was like, one thing that was very exciting for me in my childhood, with a person very very important for me. And that makes me remember how important it is to keep trying until the end,
Hmm.
because eventually you can achieve what you really try to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. Eventually, you can learn how to fish for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think being persistent and continue to try, continue to make efforts has been the mantra of your life. If I just look at your life, the kind of companies that you have started, the kind of entrepreneurial spirit that you have, I think that's so much visible in everything that you are doing. So, Francisco, you have been an entrepreneur since you were 19, which is
Mm.
almost like 20 years back. What was that moment when you decided to get into entrepreneurship?
Very good question, and not easy to answer because, in a way, I feel that I have been an entrepreneur since I was born. In
Hmm.
a way, right? Because in order to answer that question, I should try to describe or to define what an entrepreneur, or what entrepreneurship is about.
Hmm.
Because maybe it's about doing things, right, and trying to make an impact. And I have been trying always. but it's true. I always say that I have been an entrepreneur since I was 19 years old, because that was the time when I started my first company.
Hmm.
Um, and I decided to start my first company just by chance. I mean,
By chance.
by chance, because it was something that I could do, so I did it. Basically, a friend of mine and I had an idea, and that was the time where I was starting to connect to the internet, right? In cyber cafes is where you have internet, not even at home yet. But I was learning there about, internet and technology, and I was super curious about, how all these things are working, how you can connect computers and access, like, documents elsewhere, which is the web, right?
Hmm.
um, and basically, I learned how to do it, and we had an idea, and because we could do it, we did it, right?
Hmm.
So we did the thing because we had the technology and the knowledge to do it, and we launched this first platform, and it was actually quite successful.
Hmm.
Uh, but again, it was because we could do it, and we were curious to create something and to see what happened.
Hmm. 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 Beautiful, Francisco. So what you mentioned is this. One is you said that I became an entrepreneur by chance. You also mentioned that there's something that I could do and I did it. But I'm sure in that space itself, as Malcolm Gladwell talks about in his book Outlier, that there was a time when Bill Gates and Steve Jobs came into this scenario. So there was something that was getting conspired in the world. Now, if I look at your life, I'm sure there were many people who could do that, who had a chance as well, but they did not do it. What was that in you that actually pushed you, or if I may use the word, that inspired you to take on that journey, which was not at all easy at that point, I'm sure.
It was the impact that I wanted to make in the world,
Hmm.
because the second company that I launched uh, when I was 23 or 24, I don't remember.
Hmm.
That was the one that I launched it in a conscious way, like, being aware of what I was doing.
Hmm.
Because the first, it was by chance, because it was an actual company that we even sold. But before that, I did other things, that again could be considered entrepreneurship in one way or another. But this second legal company, like legal entity, that was done in a very conscious way, looking to make a huge impact. Because I was working at the university, so I had finished my PhD on artificial intelligence,
Hmm.
and I was working at the university, like, researching and giving some lessons at the university, and doing things there. But I felt that I wasn't going to make an impact there,
Hmm.
because most of the research that you do at the university stays there, for several reasons. And I wasn't even feeling that I was like a teacher who deserved to be a teacher,
Hmm.
because I was teaching about things that I have never been done in the real life. As many university teachers, they are amazing university teachers, but some of
Hmm.
them, don't have the real experience, and I didn't. So I was feeling guilty, and also was feeling that the research that I was doing on AI, that I love, by the way, wasn't going to make a real impact. That I wasn't in the real place to make the real impact. So I decided to launch a company
Hmm.
based on the technology that we developed at the university. So it was a spin-off from the university. And in these few years that I was running this company,
Hmm.
the impact that we made was way beyond and way bigger, that everything that was done at the university by the whole area of AI at that moment, right?
Hmm.
Because the company is usually in the real world, like doing real things. So that was the moment that I took the decision in a conscious way to become a real entrepreneur, and to not have, and I was 23 or 24 years old with a job for all my life, being a university teacher. I was
Hmm.
actually the youngest of my university,
I'm
which is
sure.
a very good university, by the way. but I didn't want to stay. It wasn't about having a safe place.
Hmm,
It was about living a meaningful life, and making a real impact. So the real reason was to make an impact.
hmm, hmm. Thank you. Thank you. I've got two questions here. The first question is, uh, 15 years back, who would have given a thought to get into AI? So, how did you get introduced to the world of artificial intelligence? That's one. Second question is, what does that mean to be a real entrepreneur? So, you mentioned in this when you launched the second company, that's where you became a real entrepreneur. So, would love to uh, take get your insights on that. Let's talk about the first question. How did you get introduced to the world of artificial intelligence?
Well, it's true that now AI, artificial intelligence, is something that everyone is talking about, right? But but like when I started to read about it, some people very curious about technology knew about it, of course, right? So, and I have been like a very philosophical person all my life. Like I have been always asking myself, why do we think? Why are we here? I mean, what is going to be next after humans, right? And my purpose in life, and I knew for since I was very little, is evolving humanity. That's my purpose. I mean, I want to be one of the dads and moms that create the next version of humans, whatever that means.
Hmm,
So I started to study computer engineering with the idea of doing my PhD on artificial intelligence.
hmm,
um, because I was reading about it, right? I mean, there were some movies, not like that many as we have now, and again, it wasn't like a huge thing as it's now. But some people focus on technology knew about it, right? So I was very familiar. Although AI has been making a lot of progress within the last few
yeah.
years, and I'm very excited about it.
Hmm, hmm. Thank you. And I love it
Sure.
when you said very early in your life, you discovered your purpose, which is evolving humanity. I'll come there as well. Let's talk about, as you mentioned, what does that mean to be a real entrepreneur?
Well, I, I don't know if I have the right answer or not even an answer
Or
for
or
that,
or
but I
there
will
is
try.
any right answer at all. So please go ahead.
Yes, yes. I believe that a real entrepreneur is someone who makes the decision of doing something that didn't exist before, right? It can be a company, it can be a foundation, it can be an association, it can be, there are several ways to be an entrepreneur, I believe. What I was saying before is that I took the decision to be a real entrepreneur in a conscious way, right? But I think I was an entrepreneur since several years ago. I don't even know when I started to be one, right?
Hmm, hmm,
But yes, I believe that an entrepreneur is someone who is willing to jump, into a new place, into a new market, into a new area that doesn't even exist, and to explore, right? So for me, entrepreneur and explore is very similar, right? Being an entrepreneur and being an explorer is quite similar. I think it's
hmm.
similar at least at the very beginning, and because at the very beginning, businesses and especially innovative startups need to explore a lot in order to find, the market, and to find, the product market fit, and to find the real opportunities, even the real and the right communities and right teams, and so on. So you need to
Yeah.
explore. And I consider myself one of those explorers for sure. This is like ants, right? When you see ants, there are ants that are explorers, there are ants that are collecting, what the explorers find. There are ants that are warriors, right? Like fighting. And there is the king, or the queen, I believe. And I'm just an ant, but I'm an explorer. I'm pretty sure about my type of
Yeah.
ant.
Since we are talking about being an explorer, since we are talking about wearing the hat of what we call as entrepreneur, you have led three companies in the last 20 years, Francisco. including the current organization that you're leading called Purpose Alliance. What are the major challenges in evolving the early stages ideas into sustainable organizations to make a massive impact that you have been talking about?
First of all, being surrounded by the right people is very important, and you learn about that, with experience, I guess. Every person is amazing. Everyone, I mean, every person is really extraordinary. And but of course, until you understand that there are people who are more focused on exploration, or there are people more focused on collecting the things, and putting the right team together, it's not that easy, right?
Not at all.
Yes, because you need to understand who is each person, and aligning styles, values, and of course the purpose of the company and the vision, the mission, and everything, right? I have been very lucky in terms of team in general, in any case, but I think it's one of the most challenges thing, right? So that's challenging. Also, the timing, because I'm I tend to be quite visionary, right? So I'm usually focused on the future, and that's good, right? In one way, but in another way, if I go too much ahead, right, I'm going to be trying to launch, products or things that will come later in the market, right? And if you are thinking to really make a business, a sustainable business, you have to have a business today, not only tomorrow. And that's one thing that happens usually, right? So I have learned a lot to differentiate between the vision, like the long-term vision, and today, and
Hmm.
what you have to do today, and what you will be eventually doing tomorrow. Although no one knows, because you cannot predict the future. The only way to do it is actually creating the future, right? So what you have to create today for the world.
Hmm.
Yes. So it's the team, is the timing, and understanding the timing, right? And also, like having the energy and the mindset to make things happen. And actually, I believe that this is the key thing, right? Is having the
Hmm.
mindset, which is perseverance, which is exploration, which is failure as part of the process, which is, all these kind of things, which is being aware that not to risk is the riskiest thing that you could do, right? But
Hmm.
of course, taking risk in the right way. So having the right mindset, I believe, is the key for everything.
Hmm.
Because if you have the right mindset, at the end, you will find the right people, and the right people will find you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will be able to try to things, and to adjust the time in the product, whatever, right? And you will be able to understand today's world and how things work nowadays, because nowadays things work in a completely different way than 20 years ago, for example,
Hmm.
and to adapt to it, right? So I believe that the mindset is the key.
So you mentioned a couple of things. So you mentioned that putting the right people, surrounding yourself with the right people is a challenge, and in that context, you got lucky. And the second one is you spoke about the timing part. I think I really loved it because most of us, if not all, tend to look at what kind of results can we generate and create for ourselves and for others tomorrow and day after. So it's not at all about today or tomorrow. It's about the long-term vision. And the third thing is the mindset. Let's double click on the mindset. What do you think? What kind of mindset is required to get onto this path, which is full of uncertainties?
So first of all, being comfortable with uncertainty.
Hmm.
That's part of the mindset. And especially if you are trying to launch like a new organization that is going to try to innovate, right? Uh, because I do believe that everyone can be an entrepreneur, but I do believe that each person is going to be a type of entrepreneur, a different type of entrepreneur, right?
Hmm.
So, for example, I believe I can be an entrepreneur for innovative businesses in an early stage, right? There are people who can be, and also trying to be massive, right? Like global business. Other people are going to be better for more traditional businesses and maybe more local, or more focused on a specific thing, right? Like being a specialist in an area. Other people will be very good at scaling a business that is already, uh, like uh, established, but they are very very good to scale things, right?
Hmm.
So there are different type of people, different type of entrepreneurs. That's what I believe. So it's
Hmm.
not whether you are or not an entrepreneur; is that each person can be a different type of entrepreneur.
Hmm.
And the mindset will change depending on the type of business that you want to build,
Hmm.
basically, right? But I do believe that there are a few things that maybe are common for all of us. First, I believe that you should have uh, clarity about what you are trying to do and why you are trying to do the things that you are trying to do. So having clarity, like the vision, right? You have to envision the future that you wish, and you have to be willing to do it. So being willing to take this risk, and it's very important because life is about risk. By the way, it's not only entrepreneurship, but I think that people need to be aware that being that basically the riskiest thing is not to risk at all, right? So being willing to risk, being an explorer, like to explore new paths, new ways. At the very beginning, we don't even know what we don't know. So it's very important to become a real explorer and to be willing to go to places that you don't know.
Hmm.
That means that you will, as I said before, you will need to be comfortable with uncertainty, right?
Uncertainties.
Yes, and being able to make your own path. I think
Hmm.
that's very, very important, right? It's not about expecting others to build the road for you. You have to build the road, and you have to do everything. If you have
Hmm.
to learn, you have to learn, right? If uh, you have to find different or new ways to do something, you will need to do it, right? So you have to be creative in that perspective, but
Hmm.
also and overall a doer. So a word that I really love is being a doer. So making things happen, right? Being a
Hmm.
doer and being able to do things. Because an entrepreneur is someone who does things in order to make an impact, right? And maybe this is a good definition for an entrepreneur, by the way. And the impact can be local or massive, and both things are great, by the way. But doing the things is the important thing.
Thank you, Francisco. I think you've captured it really well. Whether you spoke about, so whether we talk about being comfortable with the uncertainties or having the clarity of what you're doing and why you are doing it, willingness to take risk, being an explorer, being willing to make your own path, and being creative. And if you have to do something, you have to do something. So I think you've captured it really well.
Right.
Hmm. Fantastic. So let's do one thing. Let's take a pause here. And let me just invite you to the second phase of this conversation where I'm going to throw a lot of rapid questions at you. And here is a request. You cannot think and then respond to that question. I'm just going to throw a question at you. You just have to respond with a word or a sentence at the max. So are we game for that?
Okay.
Super. Your favorite book?
The Age of Spiritual Machines by Ray Kurzweil.
Thank you. A moonshot project you would like to launch someday?
The next species after humans.
One word that describes Elon Musk for you?
Game changer.
A technology that's a blessing and a bane for humanity?
AI.
An unfulfilled dream for you yet?
Not everyone having access to the basic things.
An episode if you could change in the history of humankind?
I mean, that's tricky. I'm sorry because I'm going to take longer. But even though there are so many things that I would change because there are so many wars, right?
Hmm.
There are so many disasters, injustice, and so on. But we are the result of what was the past, right? So
Yeah.
it's not that I didn't change anything. Is that I prefer to focus on changing the future to make things, fair and good for the whole universe, actually.
Hmm. Okay. A value you won't compromise for anything in life?
Integrity.
A business leader who's your source of inspiration.
So many, but I like a lot Bill Gates.
One entrepreneur you would like to work with.
Any entrepreneur who is purpose driven is fine for me.
Okay. And what do you want to be written on your epitaph? And also, I love it when you call yourself a doer because there are so many people who can talk about big things, but we need more doers. And as you've always described yourself a doer, whether it's in your signature or I remember the initial conversation that we had, that's how you introduced yourself. And that caught my attention. That's where I said, hey, let me just do more research and get to know who Francisco is and what he does. And here we are. So thank you. So, Francisco, let me just welcome you to the third phase of this interview where we are going to switch gears and we are going to dig deeper into your organization, Purpose Alliance. So, what was that moment when you decided to start Purpose Alliance?
That's a very good question.
Hmm.
Um, because the moment that I decided to launch Purpose Alliance was after it was launched. let me let me describe that.
Tell me more about
Uh,
that.
yeah. So last year it was on March 12th, and I was traveling.
Hmm.
I had decided to have a different year because after like 20 years running different organizations, I
Hmm.
decided to be more relaxed and to be traveling a little bit, giving a few keynotes, work on a new methodology that I was working for, helping entrepreneurs to make an impact. Suddenly, that March 12th, and I was communicated that the next keynote that I was going to give on March 19, like 7 days after that, it
Hmm.
was canceled. It was canceled, right? It was in Panama, in Asunción. And I decided to do something, right? Because it was canceled because COVID, of course, because everything was canceled because COVID, right?
Hmm.
So it was this explosion in the world where everything was canceled. I was sitting on the beach because I was relaxing a little bit in Dominican Republic. Actually, I was thinking, I have to do something. It's not about being here on the beach, right? It's about doing
Hmm.
something. So that day, I decided. So I went back to the hotel room. I
Hmm.
took my computer. I registered a domain. It wasn't even Purpose Alliance.
Hmm.
It was whatever the global challenge for COVID. And I decided to launch a global challenge for any person in the world to do something around COVID.
Hmm.
So I put together that same day a website with some free training for people on exponential technologies, on exponential solutions, on innovation methodologies in general. And I allowed anyone from the world who wanted to make an impact to sign up and to participate. So on March 19, like 1 week after the day that I had to give my keynote,
Hmm.
I basically launched this challenge, and more than 350 people participated for more than
Wow.
20 countries. Yeah, and they generated amazing solutions,
Hmm.
like amazing. And I was talking to the people, and they were, "Wow, Francisco, I have discovered that I can make an impact. I have, discovered that anyone can make an impact."
Hmm.
So a friend of mine uh, um, basically called me and said, Polepin from Dubai, and he said, Francisco, I would like to do the same that you did here in UAE. And I said, sure, go for it. I will help you. I will put together the website for you. I will give you everything that you need. Um, um, and yes, and he ran it. It was another succeed. After that, another person ran it in Mexico, another one in Peru, and
That's how
several
it
challenges started to happen.
exploded.
Exploded, yes.
It
So someday,
exploded.
yes, I was just helping people to run these challenges, and I said, this started because a purpose, because the purpose of creating something to change or to stop COVID. It was the people, not even me. It was an alliance of people. So I
Hmm.
said, I have to launch something to to basically drive all this energy to a next level and to allow people to do things. So that was the moment, and it was around May. Actually, if you look on the internet, the purposealliance.org domain, and that is where we have our main website,
Mm.
was registered in May. And that was the moment that I decided to launch Purpose Alliance,
Mm.
to empower extraordinary people to create the future. That's our
Wow.
purpose in Purpose
This is really
Alliance.
interesting. When the world was running from pillar to post to take care of themselves, to look for safety and security for themselves and families, amidst that, you sat alone in a room in a hotel and said, what can I do? And that's where you could actually bring 350 people to come together and do something about COVID-19, right? Now, having worked with so many people who are willing to invest their time, energy on a pro bono basis, right? What have you realized are the key drivers for an individual to lead a purpose driven life?
It's the purpose. I mean, there are many people in the world, and in a way, everyone at some point of their life who feel passion about making an impact and leaving a footprint,
Mm.
right, in the world, um, because it's part of who we are. I mean, if we think about Maslow pyramid, right, health, money, and love is only the three first layers of it, but there are other two layers, and the last one is about purpose. It's about uh, being fulfilled, and feeling that we are living our life, with with certain direction. When I was a children, that it was about, life was about being healthy, having money and love, but it's not. I mean, of course you need to be healthy, and especially nowadays, right? That's a basic. Having some resources to live,
Mm.
and having love, of course, and giving love. I would say even more giving love. But there are more things in life, not only that, which is a lot. Uh, and it's about doing something that makes you feel alive, that makes
Mm.
you feel that your life is worth, basically, right? That, by the way, is another way of love, of loving, but it's love for everyone. It's not only love for your, you know, your the ones who are close to you, family, friends, and so on. Purpose, from my point of view, is the biggest way to represent love, because
Mm.
it's providing or giving your life to a major thing, which is making an impact.
Mm.
So yes, everything is love at the end of the day, and energy. But I believe that there are so many people who are connecting with their purpose, because humanity in general and society is going up into the Maslow pyramid, as has happened through history, right? As has happened through history.
Mm.
But now it's clear that it's happening, and this is why we wanted to put Purpose Alliance together, to bring this house to everyone who want to make an impact, and we want to help people to make an impact. Actually, we do have a moonshot, which is making our purpose clear. And our moonshot makes even me nervous when I pronounce it, but it's what we are trying to do. And it's
Mm.
helping 1 billion people to make an impact by 2030.
Beautiful.
This is what we want to do. It could be a local impact, or a massive impact, but an impact. People do something to
Mm.
make a real impact. That's our purpose.
Yeah. In fact, this reminds me of our last conversation, Francisco, where you mentioned that the Purpose Alliance is about democratization of exponential technologies and innovation methodologies. What does that mean? Democratization of exponential technologies and innovation methodologies.
Mm. Good question. Well, this is something that is happening. We are living maybe one of the most amazing times in human history, because we have now access to technology that we didn't have before,
Hmm.
right? Such as this. I mean, we are able to talk. 20 years ago, this was impossible, right? Um, or it was maybe, but only for a few, right? And 40 years ago, it wasn't possible at all. But now we can be connected from, long distances. We can go to the internet and learn about anything that we want to learn, right?
Hmm.
We can even create our own things at home. Here I have, for example, this shoe
Mhm.
that I created with my 6 years old daughter, right? And it's a real shoe. I mean, she uses it, right? And we do this at home, so we don't even need to go to to the store to do things. And this is just the beginning. So we all have access to amazing technologies.
Hmm.
And also to not only to the technology, but to how to use the technology in order to make an impact, which is the methodology, the wisdom of people who failed before and who provide this guidance to other people. So it's the know-how about how to do things. And this is the innovation methodologies, and there are several, right? Um, and this is what we try to empower as well, or to 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 make people understand that there is this technology, there is this innovation methodologies. But overall, I would say that the most important point to make a real impact is the mindset. So it's not even the technology or the methodology, it's the mindset. So in Purpose Alliance, what we are trying to do overall above technology or methodology is changing people's mindset. That's the point.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's what we are
Hmm.
trying to do.
Hmm. In fact, that brings me to the next question. In the recent past, you've started to work with entrepreneurs as well. And you've started to work with different organizations as well to bring purpose at all levels. So, what do you think? What are the three things an organization can do to bring purpose at all levels?
First of all, be aware that this is happening.
Hmm.
And the one who should be aware is the leadership team, the CEO, leadership team, or founders, right? Second, to to decide to find it, right? So it's not only to be aware, but also to decide, because it's important to know what are the things that they are going to achieve. And third, to run a process to to create the purpose, because modern organizations have a purpose, a vision, and a mission. Not only a vision and a mission anymore, also the purpose, right? So it's important. TED has the purpose of ideas worth spreading, right? Google organizing the world's information. So every organization nowadays, the strong organizations, and not only the global ones, also small organizations have a purpose. So it's about being aware that that's happening, being willing to do it, and do it.
Hmm. 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 Thank you, Francisco. Loved my conversation with you. And as I've always told you, I always feel inspired speaking with you. And
Thank you so much. Same
here's,
here.
here's the last question, Francisco. Francisco, in case you were to give a piece of advice to your 21-year-old self, what would that be?
It's similar to the question that you asked me about, what I would avoid from human history in the past. I have been through very tough moments. I have had huge failures, but I wouldn't change anything because that's the reality, right? The only thing that I would say to him was, keep doing, because everything has, you know, a reason, and you will get there.
It's like going back to the lesson that you've learned from your grandfather. Be persistent, keep it going till you learn how to fish. And at last, you will definitely learn how to fish and you will get a fish for yourself.
Exactly.
So, Francisco, thank you so much. Look forward to our interactions, and I'm sure our paths would cross and we'll collaborate in some or the other way to evolve humanity together and allow all of us to live a purposeful life. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. I'm looking forward to making an impact with you.
Looking forward, sir.